So I'm sure you've wondered from time to time in your life why communication feels so difficult. And we talk about how communication is really the key to a good relationship and good connections, and it is, but it's just not that simple. So today I'm getting into all the details about why it's so difficult to communicate and what you can do about it. For those of you who are new here, I'm Ketra Thompson, and I'm a certified master hypnotist and a relational recovery coach. So what I do is I help my clients address the issues on a subconscious level. So we go back and reframe these old beliefs that are affecting the way that they live their lives, the things that are keeping them from the success they want, the love they want, and really just the satisfying life that they want. And so we do this through customized hypnotherapy processes. If you'd like to learn more about that, check out the link in the description below. It has all the information on my website, and it's really easy to set up a complimentary, totally free consultation call with me so that we can get to the heart of what's going on with you and get you some clarity about what's going on, so that regardless whether or not we decide we're a good fit to work together, you'll at the very least have some more clarity about what's going on with you. So you can set that up in that link below. And as always, if this content resonates with you, please click like and subscribe so you can be notified every time I post a new video. So I just got back from a family vacation to the beach. I go there every year with my kids and their partners and my parents usually, and it's just a really fantastic time of being together and laughing and having fun. But it had me thinking about communication and why communication can be so tricky. The thing is that we hear everyone say, well, you just have to communicate better. But that doesn't actually address what's going on underneath. The thing is, there's a lot of fear around communication. So, and I like this other comment that I see a lot, but even it's not complete. It's when someone says, it's not about communication, it's about comprehension. And that's good. And I agree. It's about comprehension, but there's still some layers underneath there before you can even get to comprehension. So behind communication issues are usually emotional triggers and fears. Now, a lot of these have been programmed into us since we were very, very little. We tried to communicate our needs, they didn't get met, and we pulled back and changed our way of communicating. Now, for some kids, that might have been bad behavior, acting out and getting negative attention because it was the only attention they could get and they needed attention. For other people, it might have been just shutting down and not expressing their needs at all, thinking I'll just do everything that they want me to do and I'll be a really, really good person and become a people pleaser, and then they'll meet my needs. Then I'll be accepted and loved. And so all of these things are happening when we're really, really young, when we're forming our subconscious belief system from birth till about age 7. And then that gets added to with traumatic events later through life as well. So it's usually based on an old fear that was programmed into you before you really had any discernment about it. So the most well-known issue with communication is really the triggers issue. One person's trying to communicate something, the other person gets triggered internally and gets really upset or defensive, where they feel personally attacked. And so they make it all about them and they attack back. Now you see this a lot in narcissistic dynamics or really toxic relationships, but you also see it in a regular relationship. We all have these things that are deeply hurtful from our past that created beliefs about ourselves. And when someone else steps on that wound, then we can get really triggered about what's going on. So it's not about creating comprehension at that point. It's actually about dealing with the trigger. So when you have a trigger like that, you want to be able to recognize it, where you're feeling it in your body, call a timeout, and go deal with your own internal stuff before you re-engage. Because if you can't calm down your nervous system, then you aren't going to be able to re-engage. Now, if you're dealing with a toxic person, they never will have the intention of understanding or re-engaging with the intention of understanding. That is the kind of person who's committed to misunderstanding you. Someone who has already made their mind up about who you are, what you think, and your motives behind the things you do. I don't know if you've ever had anyone in your life like that, but I have had a family member in my life like that most of my life. And that person always believes that they know who I am, what I think, what I'm doing behind the scenes, has already made their mind up about me. And it doesn't matter how I grow or evolve or change or, grow into a different human being over the entirety of my lifespan. Their opinion about me has been made up, and they are committed to their opinion about me. And I'm fortunate that I've really only had this one person that has been long-term in my life like this. And now that I realize that, I no longer take the things that this person says and does deeply personally. I know that this is their issue. They have committed themselves to their story about me. So someone like this is never going to hold space for you. They are never going to sit there and let you unpack your thoughts, feelings with the intention of understanding. And that's what you really need in someone else. And that's what you need to be for other people in a very healthy relationship, is that you need to hold space and be able to have a level of curiosity that allows you to listen with the intent of understanding, not with the intent of making assumptions. Now, we've talked a little bit about this toxic dynamic of the person who's committed to misunderstanding you. So I want to talk a little bit about what happens when you're in that. When you're in a relationship of any kind with someone who's committed to misunderstanding you, who's easily triggered and starts being defensive and projecting back onto you, what happens is you tend to pull back and you stop creating attempts to connect with that person. Now, when you stop attempting to connect with someone else, it's like a little death inside of you, a piece of you that says it's not worth it. And John Gottman goes over a lot of this in several of his books. He talks about all the research he's done on bids. When someone bids for your attention, it can be a look, body language, words, a touch, all kinds of things that say, hey, look at this. Come into my world for a minute and see my view and perspective and connect with me. And if the other person is continually meeting those bids with anger or even complete neglect, ignoring them, then eventually the person bidding just stops bidding. They stop reaching out. They stop trying to connect. They stop sending messages. They stop saying how they feel. They stop going into depth. They just stop. It's too painful to be rejected on that level over and over again. And so if this happens as a child, you aren't getting your needs met, your bids met, oftentimes the child will go into people-pleasing mode and think, well, if I can't get my needs met, if I can't get the connection I need, I'll just do everything I'm told, so that will make them happy, and then they'll love me. And this is how people pleasers are made. They don't want to rock the boat. They don't want to stand up for themselves. They don't want to be assertive. And I talk about assertiveness a lot with my clients because a lot of people are so afraid of rejection if they actually say what they want that they never say what they want. And I see this even in people who've been married for decades and decades and decades, where sometimes usually happens with the wife, but I know it goes both ways. But the wife will be like, oh, I really want to be able to travel to this place that I know my spouse can't travel to. And because they won't want me to go, I won't go. But then they're bitter and resentful inside that they don't get to live the life that they would like to live. Instead of being assertive and saying, honey, I'd love it if you could come with me. I know you can't, but this is something I'd like to do. Let's discuss a plan so that I can make that happen. That's actually being assertive about the things that you value and desire and want in your life. And so many people don't do it. They're full of crippling fear of rejection, fear of being scolded, fear of being yelled at. And we're talking about adults, but it's that child inside of them that doesn't want the battle. Or they've been through that battle with their partner so many times that they just can't handle it anymore because they've been so beaten down. They're so weak because the other person hasn't held space and been a very curious partner. So we've got these two dynamics where we've got the person who's instantly defensive and aggressive and kind of blame shifting and projecting. And we've got the people pleaser over here that is, holding back and getting resentful and bitter on the inside. None of these things work for communication. Communication needs to be an open curiosity about one another, the ability to stay self-regulated in your nervous system and hold space for the other person to unpack what they're trying to say. They're not going to say it perfectly every time. They're going to fumble through it because that's the way we are as humans. Sometimes we have to talk things out to get them right, but we also need to have someone who's willing to hold space to allow us to unpack that stuff. And we need to be able to do it mutually for each other. And that's what I do with my clients. I help my clients not only gain more confidence and assertiveness in their life, but I help them to do it by honing their communication skills, teaching them these methods of communication. But none of them are really effective until we've done the deep subconscious work, where we go back, we reframe these things, these old belief systems, these triggers on a subconscious level. So now they are operating from a different belief system internally, and they aren't being absolutely sidelined in their communication because of their deep internal triggers and fears. That's the beauty of hypnotherapy. It works on a subconscious level so that you can get to the heart of things, because we talk about communication and teaching communication skills, but if we aren't going to get underneath that and address what's really driving the issue, then you're not going to find long-lasting results. So again, if you'd like to set up that consultation, that link is in the description below. The other thing you can do today is start noticing when you get upset in a conversation. Call a timeout. Ask for a break and don't do it indefinitely. Say, I want to talk about this, but right now I feel myself getting triggered inside. I need an hour, and I'll check back in with you in an hour. Don't just leave someone and abandon them wondering when you're going to come back and talk to them. Actually call a timeout and say when you're going to check back in with them. That gives you the time to be self-reflective about what's going on and get your nervous system calmed down. Now, it may not be a long-term solution because those triggers need to be dealt with, but it's a start, and it's a way for you to help rewire those neural pathways that are creating this reaction in the first place. So, until next time, I hope you curate a life by your own design.